I was going, and then I noticed nobody there. And on WhatsApp, it said that nobody was able to, devotees were saying that I wasn't live anywhere. And so I just removed all my accounts and re-added them, and hopefully that did the trick. Yeah, let me see if that worked, actually. All right, looks like it worked. Should I do Jaidvani again? I'll just do it again. Give time to join. I'll do a quick Jaidvani. Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Vinod Vihari Ju Ki Jai, Jai Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Jai Srila Param Gurudev Ki Jai, Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Swaparshad Shri Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Haribo Mataji Didi and Kishore Prabhu and Rup Manjari Didi and Ganga Didi. Sorry about that. Do I need to leave to break Akadashi? Is that what you're asking? Oh, Rohit Radhakrishnanji, Haribo Dandavat Pranams. Oh, do seeds break Akadashi? No, better break Akadashi with grains. Yeah. Haribo Prajumna Prabhu and Mantramurti Mataji. All right, so let's begin. Yeah, sorry about that. I had to do a whole thing. I removed all these accounts, and then I had to add them in back in again, but then I had to get my it's a whole thing. Anyways, that's why I'm so late. I did start on time, but just because of yeah. All right, so we're continuing on from Bhāgavata Pravāha. We're reading from Venu Geet all the way up to Brahmar Geet. So the most mesmerizing flute song. Shukadev Goswami describes the beauty of the rainy season in Vrindavan with various analogies and life lessons. He then describes the autumn season, Sharad, during which Krishna began his special conjugal pastimes. Wearing a peacock feather, blue karnika flowers on his ears, a yellow dress, and the Vaijanti garland, Krishna exhibited his transcendental form as the greatest of dancers as he entered Vrindavan forest, beautifying it with his footprints. That's that famous verse, Varha Piram Nata Varabhakanayo Karnikaram. As the Gopas sang his glories, Krishna played his most enchanting flute. Krishna did his flute song with the chirping of birds and the movements of trees that carried the fragrance of autumn lotuses due to cool breezes. At that time, the Gopis gathered in groups and glorified the divine song of Krishna's flute and the reactions of various beings to that divine sound. The Gopis' loving discussions is called Venu Geet. The Gopi said, Krishna's flute is more fortunate than us, for it constantly takes the nectar from his lips. When Krishna plays on his flute, moving beings become stunned and non-moving entities tremble. The peacocks dance ecstatically. Bucks and does worship him. The wives of the demigods are attracted. The cows drink that vibration with their upraised ears as vessels. The stunned calves stand still and embrace him within their hearts. The birds get absorbed like sages with closed eyes. The currents of the rivers break, and the arms of their waves embrace his feet, presenting lotus offerings. Even the summer clouds construct an umbrella for Krishna and shower cooling drizzles. The Gopis also glorified the fortunate Vrindavan, which had attained the opulence of Krishna's direct footprints, and of Govardhan Hill, the best of Krishna's servants, which offered many services to Krishna, his cows, and his friends. Venu Geet. During Margashirsha, mid-December to mid-January month, some unmarried gopis worshipped goddess Katyayani with a desire to get Lord Krishna as their husband. One day, early in the morning, these gopis left their garments on the bank of the Yamuna and started bathing while chanting Krishna's glories. Krishna then came there and playfully took away their clothes and climbed a kadamba tree just to tease them. The gopis pretended to become angry with Krishna and asked him to return their clothes, promising him that they would follow his orders. Krishna then told them to come and collect their garments with folded hands. When they did so, Krishna returned their clothes. Krishna knew that the gopis had offered their hearts to him and worshipped Katyayani to get him as their husband. Thus, Krishna fulfilled the desires of the gopis, who happily returned. Once again, just making sure that the mic is working. Didn't check that. Haribo Mataji. Oh, sorry, Kishore Prabhu. On Akadashi today, yeah. Do seeds break Akadashi? Yeah, we don't take seeds on Akadashi. And what's the reason? I don't know. It's just that's not really. I don't know the reason for all the rules. Lots of times I don't think there is even a shastric reason. It's just because that's what we follow. That's what our Gurudev said. That's what they follow in all the Gaudiya Mats, coming from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So, but yeah, I wouldn't. It depends though. Like if you're eating an apple and you eat a seed, I don't think that means you broke Akadashi. So it's not like a hard breaking or something like that. But like you wouldn't take coriander seeds or something like that, which is a spice. So yeah, okay. Oh, I was checking the volume. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, it's working. Okay, love born of simplicity and hearing. Once Krishna went a long distance along with the gopis for herding cows. There, he glorified the trees of Vrindavan. Oh friends, see these trees. Despite their inconvenience of tolerating heat, cold, and rain, they help all of us in various ways for our sustenance. The trees, out of their natural love, bent down to give fruits to Krishna and the Gopas. The boys became hungry and requested Krishna and Balaram to do something. Krishna told them, "Nearby, some Brahmins are performing a sacrifice for pious credits. You may go to them and ask for some food. Please tell them that Balaram is here, and later say that I am also here." The Gopas went to the Brahmins as per Krishna's instruction, but returned back in disappointment with empty hands. As the Brahmins neglected their requests for food, Krishna slightly smiled and told them to approach the wives of the Brahmins with the same request, and the Gopas did so. The wives of the Brahmins had always been eager to see Krishna because they had heard about his wonderful qualities. Taking many fine foods, they ran towards Krishna just as rivers flow towards the sea. Their relatives tried to stop them, but the ladies paid no heed. One of them was kept back at home forcefully. In separation from Krishna, she gave up her body, the cause of all bondage. When the ladies reached the bank of Yamuna, they saw Krishna dressed like a dramatic dancer, resting one hand upon his friend's shoulder and twirling a lotus with his other hand. The fortunate ladies embraced Krishna within their hearts. Krishna welcomed them and appreciated their selfless service. He said, "Intelligent people render unmotivated and uninterrupted service to me, as I am the dearest object of the soul." Krishna then called them to return to their husbands. The wives of the Brahmins replied, "Please do not speak this cruelly. We wish to remain in the forest, making garlands of tulsi leaves for you." We have already given up all the material relationships. Our relatives and husbands will not take us back. We have no other destination other than your lotus feet. Krishna replied, your relatives will not be inimical to you. Being in my association like this is neither good for you nor for the society. You fix your minds on me and very soon you will achieve me. Please go back. Thus Krishna bestowed his mercy upon them. The wives of the Brahmins returned to their homes, and by Krishna's will, their husbands didn't find any fault with them. In fact, the Brahmins came to their senses and regretted their offense to Krishna. Seeing their wives' pure devotion, they condemned themselves. To hell with our high birth, celibacy, learning, aristocracy, and expertise in rituals. We are supposed to be the gurus of all society, yet we are bewildered by Maya. The bhakti of our wives is rare. Although they did not undergo any Vedic processes like us, they have firm devotion for Lord Krishna. Though we have heard the Supreme Lord appeared in the Yadu dynasty, we failed to recognize him. Let us offer our obeisances to Krishna, hoping for his forgiveness. Reflecting in this way, they wanted to see Krishna, but being afraid of Kongsa, they did not do so. Humbling a proud servant. As Krishna turned 7 years old, one day he saw the Vrajvasis making elaborate arrangements for a ceremony. Krishna then asked Nanda Maharaj about the ritual. Nanda explained, my dear boy, this is a traditional worship called Indra Puja, performed to please the demigod Indra who gives us rain. Rain is vital for our living and agriculture. Krishna replied, happiness, distress, and fear are just the effects of karma. Indra cannot change one's karma. The clouds pour rain everywhere, including the oceans. What has Indra got to do with this arrangement? My dear father, our specific relationship is with the forest and the Govardhan hill. Therefore, I request you to forego Indra Puja and worship the Govardhan hill instead. Nanda said that they could worship Govardhan hill separately another time, but Krishna insisted that all the paraphernalia that had already been arranged for Indra Puja must be used for Govardhan Puja. He proposed, prepare various kinds of food items. Brahmins must invoke a sacrifice, feed the cows, and present offerings to Govardhan hill. After everyone is eaten to their satisfaction, circumambulate the cows, Brahmins, sacrificial fire, and Govardhan hill. Nanda Maharaj and other senior members of the cowherd community gladly accepted Krishna's sweet and logical proposal and performed Govardhan Puja as he desired. Krishna assumed the form of a mountain and accepted all the offerings. He offered obeisances to Govardhan and asked everyone else to do so. He asked everyone else also to do so. Being the all-pervading supersoul, Krishna was aware that Indra at that time was puffed up of his kingly position and heavenly opulence. Wanting to inculcate humility in him, Krishna stopped Indra's worship while simultaneously inaugurating the most exciting tradition of Govardhan Puja for him to come. Knowing that his sacrifice had been put aside, Indra became furious. He sent powerful Samvartaka clouds that were capable of destroying the entire universe upon Vrindavan. With wild lightning, thunder, and winds, the Samvartaka clouds poured water incessantly in Vrindavan like piercing sharp arrows, as thick as pillars, along with heavy pieces of ice. All the lands were filled with water. The cows were severely tormented by cold and took their calves underneath their bodies. All the Vrajvasis took shelter of Lord Govinda. Krishna then prepared himself to counteract this deliberate exhibition of Indra's pride and wrath. Just as a child picks up a mushroom, Almighty Krishna then picked up the Govardhan hill and held it with his little finger of his left hand and called all the Vrajvasis along with their animals under the shelter of the huge umbrella of Govardhan. Enlivened, the Vrajvasis happily came under Govardhan. In this way, Krishna held Govardhan for 1 week while personally reciprocating with the affectionate feelings of all the Vrajvasis, who all loved him more than their own lives. Absorbed in Krishna's beautiful form with their loving eyes, none of them were disturbed by hunger, thirst, fear, or any discomfort. Despite his determined efforts for 1 full week, Indra couldn't move even a blade of grass from Govardhan. His torrents of rain couldn't cause the slightest torment for the Vrajvasis. Coming back to his senses, Indra asked the clouds and the winds to desist. As the rains and winds stopped, Krishna asked the Vrajvasis to return home. Krishna replaced Govardhan back in its position. Overwhelmed with ecstatic love, the Vrajvasis greeted Krishna according to their individual relationships. Yashoda, Rohini, Nanda, and Balaram embraced Krishna. Krishna became celebrated from then on as Giridhari, the lifter of Govardhan Hill. The cowherd men were astonished at Krishna's activities. Nanda Maharaj told them of Garga Muni's astrological prediction that Krishna had qualities equivalent to Lord Narayan. Ashamed of his impudent act, wanting to seek forgiveness, Indra approached Krishna along with the lovely cow Surabhi. Not to further embarrass him, Krishna kindly granted Indra a private audience. Krishna fell at the lotus feet of little Krishna and expressed his sincere apologies. Krishna smiled and spoke in a grave voice. "My dear Indra, I stopped your worship just to show you my mercy and to remind you that I am the eternal master of you and the demigods. Always remember that all your opulences are due to my mercy. No one can independently become opulent without my favor. If I find someone overpowered by false pride, I mercifully withdraw all their opulences and powers." Krishna didn't dethrone Indra as the king of heaven or disown him as a devotee, but cautioned him to be careful of pride. Indra, accompanied by many other demigods, worshipped Lord Govinda and performed his bathing ceremony, his abhishek. He then departed to his heavenly abode. Yet another demigod. Once Nanda Maharaj worshipped the Supreme Lord and went to take bath in Yamuna early in the morning on a Dwadashi day. Mistaking that time to be inappropriate for a bath, a servant of Varuna, the god of waters, arrested Nanda. The cowherd men cried out for Krishna and Balaram as they could not find Nanda. Krishna then went to the court of Varuna deep under the waters. Seeing Krishna, fearful Varuna worshipped him and spoke, "O Lord, your father is brought by my foolish servant. Please forgive him. You may please take your father home." Krishna became pleased with Varuna and took Nanda Maharaj home. Nanda Maharaj was astonished to see the place of Varuna and his worship of Krishna. Later, he described everything to the cowherd men, who were astonished and wondered if ever Krishna would show them the transcendental abode. Krishna understood their thoughts and took them to the lake called Brahmahrad and made them submerge in the water. There they saw Krishna being worshipped by the personified Vedas in the transcendental abode. It's funny, in this book, all the thes are like, it'll say the before the Govardhan, but then it won't say the before places where it should say the. The divine dance of God. On the full moon night of the autumn season, Sharat Purnima. On the full moon night of autumn, not the autumn, Sharat Purnima, the festive ambience of Vrindavan inspired Krishna's desire to dance with the gopis. Krishna then began to play his flute standing at Vansivat. The gopis all over Vraj left their respective duties and rushed towards Krishna. Some of them were forbidden by their relatives, but they disregarded them and went to Krishna anyways. Seeing the gopis, Krishna gave numerous accounts of why they should return home, although within his heart he wanted them to stay. However, due to their deep attachment for him, the gopis only heard his external words, became heartbroken, and thus fervently requested him to accept them as his maidservants. Some scholars call the gopis as Pranay Geet, or the Song of Love. Hearing their plea, self-satisfied Krishna reciprocated with them by initiating the Ras dance. While dancing with the all-attractive Lord, the gopis, being induced by the Lord's Lila Shakti, pastime potency, felt proud for having received such special attention from Krishna. Noticing this, Krishna immediately disappeared just to intensify their love. Overwhelmed by feelings of separation from Krishna, the gopis searched for him all over the forest in the night like mad persons. With their minds fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, they looked for him in various forests, asking moving and non-moving entities about Krishna's whereabouts. They enacted his various pastimes in order to mitigate their distress to some extent. As they were wandering, the gopis saw Lord Krishna's footprints, along with Srimati Radharani's. They understood that Radharani must have worshipped Krishna with unusual excellence, since she has been privileged to receive the rarest special attention from Krishna. As the gopis moved forward, they found Radharani alone in anguish. Krishna had disappeared from her sight too. When she had felt herself to be the most fortunate among women and had asked Krishna to carry her Krishna had disappeared from her sight too when she had felt herself to be the most fortunate among women and had asked Krishna to carry her as she couldn't walk further. Then Srimati Radharani and all the gopis continued searching for Krishna and came to the bank of the Yamuna and prayed for Krishna's audience and mercy. The gopis had dedicated their minds and very lives to Krishna. Their crying, which appeared like their misery, actually showed an exalted state of transcendental bliss. In their separation from Krishna, they sang a song called the Gopi Geet, in which they simultaneously accused and praised Krishna. They glorified the land of Vrindavan, where Krishna appeared. They accused Krishna of cheating them, yet acknowledged his protection from various calamities earlier. They expressed their desire for the blessings of Krishna's lotus feet, lotus hands, and lotus face. They glorified the process of Krishna Katha, remembered Krishna's entering the forest in the morning and returning to the village in the evening. They expressed their intense separation, which was making a moment appear like a millennium, and prayed for his favor again. In this way, the gopis sang, expressing their hearts in various charming ways, wept loudly in their longing to see Krishna, Krishna Darśana Lalasa. Sorry, guys. Then Krishna, with a smile on his lotus face, appeared before them. Seeing him return, the gopis worshipped Krishna. Seeing that the gopis were hurt due to his absence, Krishna pacified them. I disappeared from your vision only to increase your attachment to me, but I never stopped loving you. Please do not harbor any bad feelings towards me. I cannot repay my debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma. Your love for me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties which are difficult to break. Therefore, may you be satisfied by your own glorious deeds. It's one of my Gurudev's favorite verses. Krishna then initiated his enchanting Ras dance, which is the topmost display of pure love between God and his energies. The gopis are the transcendental expansions of Krishna's pleasure potency, and as his potency, they are non-different from him. In the Ras Lila, Krishna looked at the gopis and touched them exactly as a child enjoys playing with his own reflection in a mirror. Krishna enjoyed with his own Swarup Shakti. A slithering surprise. Once, all the Vrajvasis went to Ambikavan. They took bath in river Saraswati, worshipped Shiva and Parvati, and gave charity to the Brahmins. They were spent the night there fasting, taking only water. Suddenly, a big snake came and started devouring Nanda Maharaj. Nanda cried out, "Krishna, Krishna, please save me." The cowherd men got up and started beating the snake with torches, but the blazing fire didn't affect the serpent. Then Krishna came and barely touched the snake with his lotus foot. Thus, all the sinful reactions of the snake were destroyed, and he appeared as a Vidyadhara, a demigod. A Vidyadhara demigod. Krishna then inquired about his identity. The demigod replied, "I am Vidyadhara Sudarshan. Once I offended the descendants of Angira Muni, who then made me assume this lowly life form. Their curse is the mercy by which I have been touched by your divine foot that awards fearlessness." Sudar circumambulated Krishna, bowed down to him, and returned to his heavenly planet. The Vrajvasis worshipped Lord Shiva and went back while chanting the glories of Krishna. Whom to gift the jewel? Once during the Dol Purnima festival, Holi, Krishna and Balaram were playing with young girls at night. They were singing with all kinds of musical instruments. At that time, a servant of Kuvera named Shankachura came upon the scene. Afflicted by lust and envy, he started taking the girls with him, who then cried out for Krishna and Balaram. The lords then picked up tree logs and quickly pursued towards the demon. Shankachura saw them coming like death personified. Confused, he abandoned the gopis and fled for his life. Krishna chased the demon to take his jewel, whereas Balaram stayed back to protect the gopis. Krishna killed the demon and removed the jewel from his head. He then gifted the jewel to Balaram. To avoid dispute among the gopis. Balaram later gave the jewel to Srimati Radharani. A song in loving remembrance. Although the gopis relished direct association with Krishna at night and the rasa dance, during the day they felt separation from him when he went to tend his cows in the forest. As Krishna played his flute to announce his coming to the trees, creepers, birds, and beasts suffering in separation, the gopis' love increased on hearing that sound. In separation, they sang about Krishna's transcendental pastimes in the form of a love song called the Yugal Geet. The gopis sang. The beauty of Krishna attracts the minds of all. When he stands in his threefold bending form and plays upon his flute, the siddhas become attracted to him. The bulls, cows, and other animals become stunned in ecstasy and look like figures in a painting. Even rivers stop flowing. When Krishna calls the cows' names by blowing on his flute, even the trees and creepers erupt, and their sap pours down like a torrent of tears. Krishna's flute causes the birds to close their eyes in meditation, the clouds in the sky to gently rumble, and even such great authorities of music as Indra, Shiva, and Brahma to become astonished. And just as we gopis are anxious to offer everything we have to Krishna, so are the wives of the black deer who follow him, imitating us. When Krishna is returning to Vraj, he plays his flute while his young companions chant his glories. The Inuspicious Bull. One second, I'm just curious how much more we have. All right, we're getting close to the end. But we still have a bit more though. One second. One day, a demon named Arishtasura came to Vrindavan in the form of a bull with sharp horns and a mountain-like hump. Seeing him, the Gopas and Gopis were terrified. By his roar, pregnant cows and women had miscarriages. All the domestic animals ran away, and the inhabitants cried for Krishna's protection. Krishna reassured them. He chastised the demon, slapped his arms with his palms, provoking Arishta. With his arm over the shoulder of a friend, he stood there recklessly. Challenged, Arishta charged at Krishna at full speed in mindless rage. Krishna seized Arishtasura by the horns, knocked him down, broke away one of his horns, and thrashed him as if he were a wet cloth. Then Krishna struck the demon with that horn until he died, vomiting blood. Well, that was gory. The top secret revealed. As Krishna was absorbed in his pastimes with the Vrajvasis, his dear devotee Narad Muni wished Krishna's mercy and attention for his devotees at Mathura too. So he went and revealed the secret of Krishna's birth to Kongsa. Kongsa lost his control in fury and wanted to kill Vasudeva at once. But Narad stopped him, saying that if Vasudeva was killed, his sons would flee. Kongsa then had Vasudeva and Devaki shackled in iron chains. Kongsa called the demon Keshi and ordered him to go to Vraj and kill Balaram and Krishna. If the two brothers survived, Kongsa planned on bringing them to Mathura on the pretext of a Dhanuryaga, a bow sacrifice, to worship Lord Shiva. He instructed his wrestlers and elephant keepers to make necessary arrangements to kill the boys. Kongsa then called Akrura, a noble minister, and persuaded him to go to Vraj to bring the two boys to Mathura. Akrura warned Kongsa that he was planning for his own misfortune, yet he was obliged to carry out Kongsa's order. Molten iron in a horse's mouth. Keshi demon came to Vraj in the form of a huge horse running at the speed of the mind. He terrified everyone with his loud neighing. Seeing Krishna, Keshi ran toward him and struck him with his front legs. The Lord seized Keshi's legs and whirled him around and threw him a distance of 100 bow lengths. Again, Keshi charged at Krishna with an open mouth. The Lord put his left hand in the mouth of the horse, which felt like molten iron, as all his teeth fell off. Krishna's hand expanded inside the mouth of Keshi and completely blocked his breathing. His bodily parts got dislocated and the demon fell dead. The police and thief game. One day, the Gopas played the game of stealing and hiding. In that game, some acted as thieves, others as shepherds and sheep. At that time, a demon Yamasura joins the game in the form of a cowherd boy playing the role of a thief. He stole many Gopas who were acting as sheep and put them in a cave. Only 4 or 5 boys remained at the end. Krishna understood this and seized Vyoma as he was taking away more boys. The demon then changed to his original form and tried to flee, but could not flee himself from the Lord's grip. Krishna clutched Vyomasura between his arms and threw him to the ground. Krishna then fished him and rescued all the Gopas from the cave. A painful scene of separation. Having received Kongsa's orders, noble-hearted Akrura mounted his chariot and set off for Vrindavan. During his journey, he felt intense devotion for Krishna and contemplated, What pious deeds, worship, and austerities have I done? Today I will see Lord Krishna, although I am a materialistic person. Today all my sinful reactions will be eradicated, and my birth will become worthwhile, since I will offer my obeisances to Krishna's lotus feet. Thinking thus, Akrura reached the village at the time of sunset. He saw Krishna's footprints with distinguished marks of lotus, goad, etc. He became ecstatic and rolled in the dust. Akrura then saw Krishna and Balaram going to milk the cows. He immediately fell at their feet like a rod. Krishna embraced Akrura and Balaram and took them to their houses. Let me reread that. Krishna embraced Akrura, and Balaram took him to their house and gave all hospitality. Nanda Maharaj asked him about the well-being of their relatives at Mathura. After the evening meal, upon Krishna's inquiry, Akrura revealed all of Kongsas' plans. Krishna and Balaram laughed and told Nanda Maharaj about Kongsas' plans of the bow festival. Nanda then issued orders throughout the village to collect milk products and go to Mathura for participating in the festival. When the Gopis, who could not bear even a moment's separation from Krishna, heard this news, they became devastated. They feared that Krishna would never come back from Mathura. Meeting in different groups, they began singing with tears in their eyes and sang the song of separation, Venu Geet. They condemned the Creator for separating them from Krishna after showing his They condemned the Creator for separating them from Krishna after showing them his beautiful face. They commented that Akrura did not deserve his name since he was so cruel, Krura, in taking their dearmost Krishna away. Lamenting their own fate, they blamed Krishna, who, they accused, breaks loving relationships easily. Contemplating the good fortune of the residents of Mathura, they said how the dawn was going to be auspicious for them, for they would be seeing Krishna, the reservoir of all transcendental qualities. Yet, they said, the same dawn would immerse them in mortal agony. The same dawn would immerse them in mortal agony. The elders of Braj were not forbidding Krishna to leave. The Gopis decidedly tried to stop them. The Gopis decided to try to stop him themselves. Keeping aside their shyness, they loudly cried out, Govinda, Damodar, Madhava. But even as they wept, Akrura began taking Krishna and Balaram to Mathura in his chariot, followed by the cowherd men of Gokul. The Gopis also walked behind for some distance, but then they became pacified by Krishna's glances and gestures that said, I will return. With their minds completely absorbed in Krishna, they stood as still as figures in a painting until they could no longer see the chariot's flag or the dust cloud being raised. Then, chanting Krishna's glories, they despondently returned to their homes. Wonderful vision in the waters. Akrura's chariot arrived at the banks of the Yamuna. Akrura entered the waters to take a bath. While chanting mantras, he suddenly saw Krishna and Balaram in the waters. Surprised, he came out and he saw both of them sitting in the chariot. He re-entered the pool. He saw Anantashesh with thousands of heads receiving praise from the Siddhas, Charanas, and Gandharvas. He then saw the Supreme Lord lying on the lap of Shesh, being worshipped by Nanda, Sunanda, the Kumaras, Brahma, Rudra, the demigods, the devotees, Prahlad, Narad, and others in their unique moods. All his material and spiritual potencies were with the Lord. Beholding the spectacular vision, Akrura experienced ecstatic symptoms. He bowed his head with a choked up voice. he bowed his head and, with a choked-up voice, he offered prayers to the Lord. Revealing his delusion as a materialist and praying for his deliverance, he expressed his humility. Finally, he surrendered himself to the Lord's lotus feet. An eventful tour. Where are we? 1 second. Okay, we have just a couple pages left. By the end of the day, Krishna, Balaram, and Akrura reached Mathura. Akrura invited Krishna to visit his home, but Krishna said that he would come after killing Kangsa. Krishna, Balaram, and the Gopas eagerly went out to see the splendorous city of Mathura, filled with tall gates, archways, doors of gold, pleasant parks, mansions, peacocks, gem-studded floors, balconies, and so on. The residents of the city, especially women, were eager to see Krishna. They had often heard about him and developed deep attraction. Krishna and Balaram met a washerman on the path. Krishna asked him for some clothes, but the arrogant washerman of Kangsa not only denied Krishna's request, but also chastised the two lords as uncivilized mountain dwellers and forest wanderers who desired the king's garments. Krishna, as if becoming angry, beheaded him merely with his fingertips and thus liberated him. The washermen's assistants dropped their clothes and fled. Krishna, Balaram, and the Gopas then took garments that suited them. Thereafter, Krishna and Balaram saw a weaver who lovingly came forward and decorated them with beautiful cloth ornaments. Pleased with the weaver, Krishna blessed him that after he would achieve Sarupya Mukti, and while in this world, he would enjoy supreme opulence, physical strength, influence, memory, and sensory vigor. The two brothers then went to the house of a florist named Sudama. Sudama offered them obeisances, bathed their feet, worshipped them, and offered them garlands of fragrant flowers. Sudama asked for pure devotion, friendship with devotees, and compassion for all beings, and Krishna gladly granted them. Krishna then came upon Trivakra, Kubja, a young hunchbacked maid of Kangsa, who is carrying fragrant ointments for the king. Krishna asked her identity and requested for some ointments. Trivakra was attracted to Krishna's beauty and gave both the brothers her ointments. Krishna then pressed her toes with his lotus feet, took hold of her chin, and lifted her, thus straightening her spine. In a moment, Trivakra became splendidly beautiful. Attracted to Krishna with conjugal feelings, she even grabbed Krishna's cloth, asking him to come to her house. But Krishna avoided the invitation, promising to visit later. Krishna proceeded further and arrived at the arena of Shiva's bow. Although the guards blocked his way, Krishna forcibly picked up the bow, effortlessly strung it, and broke it in half, producing an ear-splitting sound that struck terror in the heart of Kangsa. Krishna and Balaram then picked up the two halves of the bow and beat to death the guards who attacked them. My God, that's pretty. The people of Mathura were astonished to see the amazing prowess and beauty of the boys. At sunset, Krishna and Balaram returned to the cowherd's camp and rested peacefully. But Nanda Maharaj couldn't sleep out of concern for the boys' safety, and Kamsa couldn't, fearing his imminent death and seeing many ill omens. The final blows of death. In the morning, the wrestling festival began. The city dwellers and visitors from nearby places sat. Kangsa, as his heart trembled, on the royal dais. Krishna and Balaram heard drums heralding the start of the wrestling match and went to the venue. At the entrance wrestling arena, a mighty elephant named Kuvalayapird attacked Krishna with his trunk. But Krishna struck him back, hid among his legs. Kuvalayapid sought Krishna out with his sense of smell. Krishna teased and tormented the elephant and finally pulled out one of his tusks. With that very tusk, he beat the elephant and his keepers to death. Sprinkled with the blood of Kuvalayapid and carrying his tusk on his shoulder, invincible Krishna entered the wrestling arena along with Balaram. Different classes of people saw him in different ways according to their specific relationship with him. Just like a pair of excellently costumed actors, the two mighty armed lords shone splendidly in the arena. Indeed, they overpowered the minds of all onlookers, who opens their eyes wide to drink the nectar of Krishna's face. The residents of Mathura discussed about Krishna and Balaram based on what they had been hearing about them all these days. On Kongsa's order, Chanura and Mushtika came forward and wrestled with Krishna and Balaram. The women in the audience especially felt compassionate on the charming boys and found this great injustice. They appreciated the good fortune of the Gopis in Vrindavan, who never had to see Krishna in such a piteous condition. Vasudeva and Devaki became aggrieved with sorrow upon hearing the lady's statements, as they did not know the strength of their sons. As the women were talking, Krishna made up his mind to kill the opponent. After showing their expertise in wrestling and enjoying the fight, Krishna and Balaram killed Chanura and Mushtika, who then fell down like trees vomiting blood. Balaram playfully killed another wrestler, Kuta, and Krishna nonchalantly killed Shala and Toshala. As the remaining wrestlers all fled for their lives, Krishna and Balaram danced along with their friends. Except Kongsa, everyone else rejoiced. In a mad rage, Kongsa ordered that Vasudeva, Nanda, Ugrasen, and all the cowherds be punished, and that Krishna and Balaram be driven from the assembly. Krishna became furious and instantly jumped onto the high royal dais. Kongsa took his sword and shield and moved swiftly like a hawk. Krishna, however, grabbed Kongsa by the hair, hurled him down onto the wrestling ring, and jumped atop his chest. Striking him with fists, Krishna caused his death. To pacify and prove to everyone that Kongsa was now dead, Krishna dragged his dead body in the wrestling ring. Having always thought of Krishna in fear, Kongsa attained Sarupya Mukti. Kongsa's 8 brothers then attacked Krishna, but Balaram easily killed them with his club. The wives of Kongsa lamented for his death. The Lord consoled the widows and had the funeral rites performed for Kongsa and his brothers. Krishna then released his parents, Devaki and Vasudeva, who then simply stood with joined palms offering respects. Not liking such a reverential attitude in his parents, Krishna covered them with his yogamaya and consoled them. Then they raised the boys to their laps and shed tears. Krishna then installed his maternal grandfather, Ugrasen, as the king of the Yadus. One second. Okay. Oh, we're at the ends now. Finally. Okay. Krishna and Balaram approached Nanda Maharaj, embraced him, and consoled him. "Oh, Father, you and Mother Yashoda have affectionately maintained us and cared for us so much more than your own lives. The real father and mother are they who take care of the children who are abandoned by the relatives. Now, you please return to Vraj, and we will come later after giving some happiness to your friends here." Nanda was overwhelmed with intense affection and lovingly embraced the 2 boys. Then, with tearful eyes, he went back to Vraj with the cowherd men. Okay, we're going to end here. Well, let's read this. It's not. After Krishna Balaram, education of the Supreme Knower. Thereafter, Balaram went to the school of Sandipani Muni Avantipur. To teach the proper way of respecting one another, Krishna and Balaram served Sandipani Muni with great devotion. Sandipani Muni, pleased by their service, imparted to them detailed knowledge of all the Vedas. Just by once hearing each subject, both assimilated it completely. Thus, in 64 days, they mastered the 64 traditional arts. Knowing the prowess of Krishna and Balaram, Sandipani Muni asked them to bring back his son, who had died in the ocean at Prabhas, as Guru Dakshina, donation or gift to Guru. Shri Krishna and Balaram went to Prabhas on a chariot. Krishna asked the ocean god to return his Guru's son. The ocean god informs that a demon named Panchajana, who was living in the ocean, the boy. Krishna then entered the ocean, killed Panchajana, and took the shell that had grown from his body. He didn't find his Guru's son of the demon. Krishna then went to the planet of Yamaraj and blew his Panchajanya conch shell. Yamaraj devotedly worshipped Krishna, who then asked him for Sandipani Muni's son. Krishna and Balaram then returned to their Guru and presented him with his son. Okay, so that's where we will end for today. Yes, I think this next section is Venu Geet. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur, Haribo. Oh, and I stayed up till, again, yesterday and today. I stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning the other day making this video in Vine of Devotion. And then last night, I started late though, but I stayed up again till like 2:30 in the morning. Anyways, if you get a chance, you can check out, I'll share my screen. You can take a look at here, vineofdevotion.com. Yeah, I made this. This is week 2 of our Rupa Shiksha program. And yeah, I made this video here. And also, we go through the verses, and then I explain some things in Bengali, like how you say in Bengali. I talk about prepositions and postpositions, and then the rules for how to say in, how to say Vrindavane, Mandire, Bhakti, and then like that. And then I give another lesson talking about verb tenses, just an introduction to verb tenses, and then how you turn to a verb with kora. So to help you understand this word here, koroye brahman. And then I wrote a thing about this verse, just some thoughts I had on the verse. And yesterday, I also added subtitles to this video of Gurudev on this topic. Somebody asked, Damodar Maharaj asked a question to Gurudev, is it possible to fall down to a lower species even after receiving Diksha? And so then Gurudev explains that in this little video clip. And, and just, there's an update. Usually we do the recital, like everybody can recite the shloka I explain in the video. Usually we recite it on Sunday, but here in India, Sunday is Nrsimha Chaturdashi. I know for many of you it's on Saturday, but yeah, here in India it's on Sunday. And this week, we're going to have 2 verses to memorize. So I decided to move it back 2 days. So it's going to be on Tuesday morning that we will recite the shlokas. All right, so yeah. And so on Sunday morning, on Nrsimha Chaturdashi, I will read about Nrsimhadev. And then 2 days later, then we'll do the shloka recitation. Here are the Zoom links, and I also gave the time zones in all parts of the world. Sorry, the timings in all different parts of the world. All right. Jai Shishi Guru Gaurāṅga Gandharvika Girid. Oh, that's great, Sudevi Didi. Thanks. Shishi Guru Gaurāṅga Gandharvika Giridhari. Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashita Rashita Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shila Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupa Shila Bhakti Vedanta. Shila Bhakti Vedanta. Sorry guys. I'm really tired. That's why I've been reading I can't even talk. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupa Shila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupa Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupa Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupa Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Bhāgavata Shila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shard Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachay Shila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Ki Jai. Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai. Om Vrindai Tulsi Devai. Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Padadevi Satyavatai Namo Namaha. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyaivacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. All right, Dandavat pranams Yashji Kishore Prabhu. Oh, is that Bhavatarani Mataji and Hari Prabhu? Bhakti Yoga Farm, Hawaii? Dandavat pranams. All right, Hari Bol, everybody. Hari Bol, Rohit Radha Krishna ji. Okay, see you all tomorrow.